You know how English majors have a lot of fudge factor area, whereas physicists don't. It has to be very precise. But when I was with my teacher one time, Zen Master Bon Yeon, I asked him that very question. So I said, Sansanim, you know, Einstein said E equals mc squared, right? And he was a very bright guy. And he said, yeah. So in my rudimentary thinking, I said, so c squared is a constant. It's the speed of light squared. So we can just take that out. So then energy is mass. And he said, he just didn't say anything. He's looking at me. So I said, so if I have the same mass as a rock, do we have the same energy? And he had a great answer for me in his just wonderful Korean accent. He said, you thinking, you and this rock, different. You not thinking, you and this rock, same. And that was his theory on Einstein. But it's true. It was true. If you're thinking, you and the universe are separate, right? Because why? I am here in this body, and everything is over there. So you have subject and object, good and bad, inside, outside, life and death, form and emptiness, all manner of opposites, right? So if I see you all, if I see the world through a filter of thinking, I already have created time and space. There's an I that thinks it's separate from the rest of the universe, that forgot about this substance that you were talking about. So physicists might call it one thing. You guys might call it the God principle. Didn't somebody just get a Nobel Prize the other day for the God principle? Physics and Zen come together very well. And I'm always saying that. Buddha was able to find out all this stuff just sitting under a tree. Because everything that goes on in the micro goes on in the macro. So the way all the universal principles work in the big scheme of things, work in the mechanics and the math and the truth of me picking up this cup. So practicing means that we actually have access to finding out our true self, becoming one with that rock, becoming one with the universe. Amazing. Very low tech, very high class. You don't need to measure it. You don't need to write a thesis on it. You don't need to use somebody else's opinion. You sit down and you become a great observer of what is. That's practice. So, here's the rock and here's me, right? I think that is a rock, separate. Practicing, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Then this thinking habit that we have, you know, I think of it like a type of, if you look at the inside of, sometimes you can see in movies or something like the inside of clocks. There's all this machinery and gears and cogs, and that's like thinking. You know, it's like this wall between us and the universe, and it's just, all it is a habit force that we have to measure, to like, to dislike, to categorize, and to separate. When we do something that doesn't require thinking, like meditation, you know, all meditation practices have something in common. They don't require thinking. So either it's breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, or maybe it's repeating a mantra. It's all not using your thinking. And when we don't use our thinking for a while, the machinery, those gears and wheels that are going since the minute you wake up in the morning till you go to sleep and during the night while you're dreaming, they come down, 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 down. Rest. Then there's no I and no rock, no like and dislike, no subject, no object. Then you and the universe become one. Wonderful. That's practice. So I really like your talk because I've been talking about that same stuff for years. And sometimes I'll be driving in my car and hear things like, now I'm not a physicist, but I heard one day in the car that somebody, I think this was another Nobel Prize winner, came up with something called the uncertainty principle. And the uncertainty principle said something along the lines, and correct me if I'm wrong, that by observing something, you change it, right? Yeah. So that by observing something, we change it. Well, Buddha calls this same principle dono mind. Long time ago, almost 3,000 years ago. Only go straight, don't know. But when you have this observer, then you alter the thing itself. 4 blind men went to the zoo one day. Right? So there's an elephant there. And one blind man said, so they're feeling this elephant. And one guy had the trunk. And he said, oh, this elephant is like a hose. And another blind man was feeling the side. He said, oh, this elephant is like a wall. Another man felt the tail. He said, this elephant is like a brush. And the other guy felt the leg. And he said, oh, this elephant is like a column. Okay, so that's that observer changing what is observed. We only see part of it. And so we don't get to see the whole thing. Practicing means to see the whole thing. Very interesting. So meditation, meditation is really, really simple. And I say in pretty much 100% of the Dharma talks that I give, that Zen has a reputation. Bye, Mike. Zen has a reputation for being esoteric because it seems to be weird. You know, one day, Zen Master Dongsan was weighing flax in the market with an old-fashioned scale. And he's just doing that, and somebody shouts across. They used to do Dharma combat just anywhere. They didn't have these private little interviews. And somebody shouts to him, you know, Dongsan! He's like, yes. What is Buddha? He said, 3 pounds of flax. So his answer is now interpreted as something weird or poetic, or like, if you just heard it, you would think, Zen is 3 pounds of flax? What does that mean? That's just odd. But what he's really doing is pointing directly to truth, pointing directly to what is happening now. Trying to give that person who asked him a direct experience rather than a lot of blather about blah, 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 you know? So he said, Buddha is 3 pounds of flax. When you're doing something, just do it. So it's really, in fact, not odd or esoteric. It's just so very, very, very basic that it appears to be esoteric. So we have all this equipment in us, you know. Buddha looked up, saw a star, got enlightenment. That's a famous story, a short version. He sat under the Bodhi tree for 6 years. And he had all these experiences, and who knows how much of that is just, I would imagine that a lot of it is, you know, sort of glorified and built up. It's said that he sat there so still for so long that birds made a nest in his hair and all the kind of things like that. And that's possible. But who knows, you know? But the point is he sat there for a long time and stilled his mind. He let that thinking rest, 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 rest. Then nothing in the way. Then he could see clear, hear clear, smell clear, taste clear. Not, oh, I like it, I don't, I wish I had this, I gotta go here, da 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 da. Just clear. And so he looked up one day, saw a star, boom, got enlightenment. That's his story. we have the same equipment as Buddha. Same equipment. We have 2 hands, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. We have the same stars. Maybe we don't see as many with our city lights, but we could look at a red light, get enlightenment. Get in a traffic jam, get enlightenment. Why not? That's our reality. But what is it that Buddha got that we want? You know, we have this idea about enlightenment, which may be why at least half of you are here tonight. You know, what is this? What is that? Can I have some, please? Can I get that to that place where everything's going to be just really good? What is that? So we have that same access, and this is what I love about Zen so much, is that we can access as the Buddha did, even though, you know, it's 3,000 years later. We have the same equipment, and we have the same question. We have the same humanity. And actually, thankfully, we have people who have gone before us, such as the Buddha, such as all these teachers that came down, such as our own teacher, Zen Master Sung-san, who put this all in a really nice package for us. It's all through the trial and error of all, you know, thousands of years of people trying this. And now I'm talking to you about it. Somebody talked to me about it. And it certainly changed my life. I should open it up for questions. I'm like a wind-up toy, so once I start, I'll never stop. And it's already, is this right? I didn't set this clock back, so it's 8 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah. So what time do you have till? About 8:30 or something?
We have the room for another hour.
Yes, but I would never
Absolutely. Yeah.
torture them.
Needs to leave.
Yeah, and feel free to leave if you, have to be somewhere, I understand. So anyway, I'll stop here because I could just go on and on. And if you have some questions, I'd love to hear what they are. Any kind of question, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Please feel free on what you heard tonight, on your practice, on what, anything you want, please feel free. Yes?
Going along with the comparing it to physics and everything like that, there's the concept in physics that energy doesn't move through a system until it knows its destination. So do you think that there is an ultimate resolution?
Yes. It's already resolved. Good thing. Already resolved. Zen means you're already arrived. You know, there's this whole concept of a path and a destination. You're already arrived. Everything is already resolved. It's only this thinking that thinks it isn't. That star is just not, that cannot be it. It is not enough. Maybe if I go to India and I climb to the top of a mountain like Buddha, then I'll see a star. That star surely will be better than the one shining over Boston University tonight. So the difference between Buddha and us is one small thing. It's called recognition. It's just recognizing what's already in front of us. That's all. And believing in it. So we see that same star all the time. We see flowers like this all the time. One famous speech, can I see these flowers, please? One of the famous speeches of Buddha. This is a classic. I never actually had the flowers on the tables that I could do this. It's a little presumptuous to imitate the Buddha in this way, but I just said we have the same equipment, so. All right. So one day, thank you. One day, was it Vulture's Peak? I think so. Who cares? It was on some peak. And everybody came to see the Buddha give a speech, right? So when he gave a speech, a lot of people came because he was the Buddha. And he didn't say anything. at all. So people started shifting in their seat a little and becoming a little disconcerted. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes passed. It'd be like if I came up here tonight and sat here and just didn't say anything, and you all start checking your iPhones and your watches, like, is she going to say anything? And you didn't say anything at all. A long time, like, I don't know how much time passed, 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, something like that. Then Buddha did something really interesting. He just picked up a flower. And he held it up, and there were like, 1,000 people there. Nobody understood except one guy named Mahakashapa, who smiled. And then Buddha said, my true Dharma, I transmit to you. And that was the first transmission of Buddha to another person. Our teacher always said, if Buddha had said that to me, I would hit him 30 times and say, no, thank you. Why? It's not anybody's Dharma to transmit. But what was interesting about that talk is he just did this. And what he was really saying is, this is everything. It's all here. All the physics that you study, it's all here. All of the art that we want, it's all here. That enlightenment that we seek is right in front of us. If only we can recognize it. And Mahakashapa did. Nobody else did, but Mahakashapa got it. And so he got transmission. Famous story. So we are already resolved. We are already arrived. We have the same flower. We have the same star. The point is, can we trust that? Can we believe in that 100%? And there's a lot of moments when we don't, like when I was driving over here tonight and I was at the wrong address and I was like freaking out because I imagined you would be waiting. And every time I come into a city, I always get lost. I don't have that chip in my brain. Just don't have it. It's not even like minorly could be cultivated. It's just not there. So I rely heavily on the GPS, and I'm driving around and I thought, I hadn't even thought about like parking, So I'm like a mile up the road. And I just stopped for a minute. I said, Jane, if you're going to give a talk to people on Zen mind, and look at yourself right now. And I was like, okay, it's all good. And that's Zen in the moment, that the way we live. Maybe Buddha was like, what are those birds doing nesting in my hair? I made this vow not to move, but I don't want them there. And we're more like, I'm late. And this is the way our lives are now. Our lives are much faster. I work in the financial services industry during the day, and tonight is the night that Twitter is being priced to go public. So Twitter's going public tomorrow morning. And there was an interview with the guys who founded Twitter on TV a couple days ago. And they were interviewing these guys. And you know what they said? The reason why they invented Twitter is because they were lonely. They wanted to feel connected. They felt like I don't know if it was all four, there were four of them, but at least two of them were like, we just feel so lonesome and disconnected. And I go home and I'm like, so they made up this thing where they could constantly be updated with everybody in real time, digitally. So interesting, isn't it? They just want to feel that connection. I'm sorry, I think you could tweet all day long. You're not going to get the same thing as with this. It's not the same. It's not like it's bad, but it's not the same. Oh, more questions? Yes.
You were referring to how sometimes you feel like earlier when you're trying to get here and you're all stressed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. You say that when you stop thinking, that's how you find like that happiness and peace. But on a daily basis, especially in school, we're called upon to think. We're called upon to make decisions.
Yes.
So how can you make it so your life isn't separated into, this is my practice of meditation over here, but then when it comes to real life, I just set that aside because I have to think and make decisions.
Yeah. So Seeing sees. You don't see. Seeing sees. Thinking thinks. Thinking thinks. There's no I in it. It's by cause and effect. Hearing hears. You don't even have to try. Hearing hears. It's not like Jane flies out of her body and hears that and goes back. Hearing hears. There's no one in it. So thinking thinks is the same as the other senses, right? If we don't attach to our thinking, it's no problem. So when you think, just think. You have to sit down and write a paper, drill down and do it. Boom. I watch my kids do their homework, and they look at the assignment, and they have like, my son will have like a math sheet or something. He's in the 6th grade. And I'll be like, oh my God, I just can't do this. And he looks up, he's like, I have like 8 more. And you know, he drags the thing out. It takes him 5 times longer than if he just like drilled in, thinking time only think, homework time only homework, finish next. You know, so thinking is inherently empty. It's not good, it's not bad. Feeling is inherently empty. Its substance is the substance you discussed. There's a lot of names for that substance, you know, but it's fundamentally empty. When I say empty, there is no I in it. So it's no problem. When you think, just think. But what do we do? There's this great guy, his name was Mullah Nasruddin. He was a Sufi master. Kind of a character, judging by the stories. And he did all these funny things. And one day he was sitting in the marketplace with this basket of red hot chili peppers. And he just sat in the market and he just was eating these things, like just eating them, gobbling them up, and turning bright red. And his eyes were streaming with tears. His nose was running out. You know, he was sweating, he was sick, and he just kept eating them. And this people walked by and they said, Mullah, what are you doing? And he said, I'm waiting for a sweet one. That's like thinking. So when you think, just think, then be done with it. Like, let's say somebody bothers you today. I choose this example because I find it extra interesting that we'll be like Mullah Nasruddin with the hot peppers with negative situations that are unpleasant, that actually cause us to suffer. So imagine if for a moment, you know, conjure up some image of somebody who you feel wronged you in some way. They said something bad about you, they were mean to you, they ignored you, whatever, right? Now you sit down and meditate. I've done a lot of meditation, so I've gotten to see this ad infinitum ad nauseum. Sit down. The assignment is breathe in, breathe out. You breathe in, breathe out for a while, and then all of a sudden, what happens? Thinking pops up. Its substance is empty. Oh, I can't believe you do such a. Oh, next time if I could do that over again. And we play the story. And when we're done with the story, what do? I'm old, so I'm thinking of a tape recorder. You guys don't even know what rewind means probably, but we rewind. We press the rewind button, and we play it again, and again, and again, and again. That's the part of thinking that's not necessary. Okay, so if something appears in our consciousness by cause and effect, we let it come, perceive it as empty, let it go, on to the next thing. I see you. But what we do is we let it come, and if some of the thoughts are kind of juicy or sticky, and we grab onto them, and we go it over and over and over and over and over again. This is why people can't sleep at night. They need drugs to go to bed. They can't stop thinking, right? This is what causes people to kill one another. I think you're bad. My God is better than your God. Let's have a war over it. I'm more important than you, so I'll keep all this food and you can starve. And that's what's in the newspaper and on TV, anywhere you go. So thinking in and of itself is no problem. Don't attach to your thinking. That's a problem. Okay? It's all about your relationship to your experience in the moment. Perceive, perceive, perceive. So meditation is always taking us back to the moment, back to the moment, back to the moment. So it was easy for me to recover from being really stressed out about being late or being lost in the parking and all the stuff. There have been times when things like that happen where we get really wigged out and people start fights in families, and whatever. It's a matter of how can you recover, how can you return, how can you not attach to this thinking. Don't grab it, the thought, let it come and let it go. Okay, I'm late, I'm lost, only drive. It's okay, only drive, only see, only hear, So I think thinking and feeling are a little stickier, but just be careful not to think the same thing 1,000 times when you only need to think it once. Okay? Easier said than done, I think. But more questions? Yes.
So if you're saying don't attach thinking to, or like don't attach how you feel to your thinking, are you saying that as a general statement to always try and do that? Like just be like completely separated from like all the thinking you're doing and isolate yourself from the other mindset to like just being one? Because I feel like a lot of times that's true, and like what you just said made a lot of sense. But thinking can also make you have tons of realizations that you can't attach yourself to, and that do like bring good emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying separate yourself from anything. I'm saying become one with everything. So 100% when you think, just think. And then when you're done thinking that thought, then something else is going to appear because everything's always changing all the time. So then become aware of what you see, or the wind on your face, or the next thought, or the feeling in your gut, or your breath, or your feet on the ground, or the taste of that tea that I can taste now in my mouth. It's just all happening really quickly. So you're not, I think a lot of people have these notions about Zen. It's esoteric, it's weird, it's poetic. People who practice it are floating above the rest of the world, and they have no problems or issues, and they're not human, and they're going to wear grass shoes and have a shaved head or something. So these are all just ideas about Zen. Zen means to climb into your life, not separate yourself from it. But if we can be clear, like if I look at you and I don't have any, if I'm not attached to my thinking about who I think you are, what type of guy I think you might be, whether I like you or I don't, or that you remind me of so-and-so, or that you're a BU student, or that you're, Caucasian, or you're whatever, right? All of the stuff that we're programmed to like put people into these categories and make assumptions about them. If I don't have any of that, then I can see you. I can hear you. I can be with you. And I can respond clearly to whatever happens. If I have my agenda about who I think you are and all that other stuff, it's going to be like partial vision. It's going to be like the 4 blind men at the zoo. Right? So that's the other notion that people have, and that question comes up a lot in different ways in Zen talks, like, well, will I still love my mother, or, this kind of thing. And yeah, everything is stronger, I think. The feelings are stronger. But how do you use your feelings? Do your feelings use you, or do you use them for all beings? That's interesting. Yes?
Yeah, I was going to saying you're able to almost like understand and rationalize the emotions to the point where you don't let them completely take control of you? Because I feel like, or in my experience and other people's experiences, I feel like that's almost beyond.
Give me an example of an emotion, please. Any emotion.
Like if depression.
Depression.
Or, like, being really, really just like sad about certain things, or you could be just really, really happy about certain
Okay.
Like, yeah, very strong.
So,
feelings.
yeah. So a Zen student would sit down, and the word sad or the word happy is a fixed concept. Kind of. I mean, it's a whole host of things that are going on. Okay, and if you sit down and you're a Zen student, your job is to have the scientist's mind. Anything that comes your way in sitting meditation. Oh, sad. Oh, sadness. Then next step is, what is sad? Who is sad? What is sadness? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it here? Is it here? Is it mine? Is it static? And when you really look into it, you see, oh, there's a million things happening, and I call the whole package sadness. And then I put a wrapper around it and say, I'm sad. My sadness. It's a thought. Okay. Let's say you remind me of my cousin who died. I'm just making this up now. Let's say you look just like him. So this is cause and effect. So let's say I take a look at you, and by cause and effect, it brings up a rush of feeling in me. If I look into this feeling, it's by cause, effect, cause, effect. So it's color. Seeing sees, I don't see. It's beige and brown and blue, right? Then a thought. He reminds me of Richard. Then another thought. I miss Richard. How tragic that he died. Then a heartbeat faster. Then a stomach flipping. Then an armpit sweating. Then another thought, oh, it must be so awful to be his mother. And this stuff is going really, really quickly. Like in 1 second, in 1 nanosecond, a million of those things happen. 1 nanosecond. Never mind an hour or a day. And then I see my friend, I say, oh, I'm so sad. But meanwhile, everything's changing. And each one of those things by itself is empty, and each one of those things has no I. Color, thinking, feeling, sweating, thinking, all empty. Each one by itself is not sad or happy or whatever. So practicing, when we sit down, we begin to really inquire, like the Buddha, like, what is this? It's like exactly like taking something that looks like a drop of water and putting it under a really high-powered microscope, and you see there's this universe in there. And when you look at it one way, it's just like nothing. And then you look at it like this way, and it's like, holy crap. There's this whole thing in there. So meditation is like that. And when we get to sit and we get to see that, then we begin to learn. It's not like you're not going to have all those same experiences, or you won't be happy or sad. But again, what is the direction of my sadness? What is the direction of this happiness? Do I lay in bed all day and say, I can't function because I'm just down? Or do we say, yeah, there's 7 billion people on the planet, and a lot of people are sad, so let me make my direction clear and only go straight and use this sadness to connect to all beings. So that's how we use emotions in Zen. It's not like it's always easy. It's not like we're always successful, and I say this all the time too. I mean, I have a title of Zen Master. I've been practicing for, since I was 19, so it's like 35 years. 36 years. Done a ton of quote unquote hard training, long silent retreats, you name it, millions of them. You would think that if anybody could sit down and be clear, if we all sit here for an hour, it would be me. I sit down, it's the same for me as it is for you. Breathe in, breathe out. Then I want, I need, I wish, I wear, I was, I will be. That habit comes. The only difference is I've done it enough times that I can come back. I can not hold it so much, not grasp onto it for a full half an hour and come back. So, it's trial and error. But our teacher always said, he said at the end of every single Dharma talk he gave, everybody get enlightenment. Only go straight 10,000 years, get enlightenment and save all beings from suffering. Thank you very much. 10,000 years. That means not only this lifetime. We don't know what happens after we die, but you have this mind that's like big forever mind. Try, try, try. So that's why I think it's exciting. I think it's like inexhaustible, because then every single thing that we encounter in our life is an opportunity. Ah, there it is again, holding, look at that. There it is again, wigging out because you're late for a thing or something. Look at that. It's interesting. For me, it's inexhaustibly interesting. So it's 8:30. I don't want to take more of your time. I appreciate and respect the fact that you carved out an hour of your busy lives to come here. I remember what it was like. And just walking down the boulevard, seeing all the students, it's interesting to me because I have more of this suburban lifestyle with kids and stuff. And even that sort of rocked my world. I'm like, wow, look at, everybody's just sort of out and about doing all this stuff at night, it's like so alien to me. It's just because it's 9 o'clock doesn't mean you can't go running down Comm Ave. Who knew? So I know you're busy and I know you have a lot on your plates, but I just would encourage you to look for this one, as well as your Twitters, because that's the world you're living in now. That world of constant commentary. I always talk about this too. I see my daughter, she's 13, and fully half of her experience is documenting the other half, right? And then reliving it, like she and her friends, that's how they like everything they do, it's all set up to make a vine, and then they have a very short time to have the experience, and then they all relive it by watching the vine over again. So if you had like half an hour, the thing that they actually did was, just part of it. The rest is like, categorizing it and reviewing it and so forth. So I understand, I do it too. I understand that that's how you came up, and that's, you got a lot coming at you as young people and students. And you're basically assaulted morning, noon, and night with stimulation and media and all this extra layers of stuff on stuff. And I just, I really think if you want to feel that connectivity, don't forget about this. Your true self, What am I? Our life is short. Nobody guarantees our life. And even if we live 100 years, that's still really short. So what are you going to do with yours? What's your direction? Where's your flower? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for your